All 15 senators voted in favor of Bill 426, or the substitute FY 2013 budget bill. Vice Speaker B.J. Cruz.
We tried to cut everybody and tried to live with our means. We used what the expenditure has been for the last 10 months and projected it so that everybody's going to be on a very tight budget as it is. So I'm glad that we unanimously passed the bill, and I'm proud of the legislature for doing so.
It was on day one of budget sessions when the committee substituted the governor's original budget submission. The governor's budget was for $772.5 million in expenditures, while the committee's substituted version called for $770.9 million. The bill, meanwhile, outlined $100 million that would automatically be set aside to go toward 2012 income tax refunds, while the executive, legislative, and judiciary branches would require operations be cut by a total of $14 million, the savings of which would go toward paying past due tax refunds. Minority Leader Frank Bloss Jr. says the passage of the budget bill will provide Gov Guam with the operational funds necessary.
Obviously, there are some concerns with regards to some of the cuts that may need to be made, for the tax refunds. And I think that in separate legislation, that's going to be a continued discussion on this.
And while the budget bill made $14 million in cuts, according to the governor's office, that still isn't enough. It was last week when the governor's Omnibus Fiscal Reform Act of 2012, or the Spending Cuts Bill, was submitted to lawmakers and currently sits with Vice Speaker Cruz's Committee on Government Operations. Cruz says while the bill wasn't addressed during budget sessions, he intends to conduct separate public hearings with affected parties late next month.
I want the retirement fund to come in and explain what's going to happen to them. There are several other leave provisions that we're going to need to talk to parents and employees about how they feel about how this is going to affect them and decisions that they need to make.
He has since asked the administration to send his office its working papers on how it came about the potential savings, which is estimated at over $70 million. The governor's director of communications, Troy Torres, meanwhile, says the governor's office is waiting to receive the bill and will look over several of the changes and amendments made. He, however, hopes lawmakers move quickly on the spending cuts bill.
We hope they move forward quickly, that they get the public comment that's necessary, and that they make tough decisions. I understand this is election season, but this certainly can't be punted down the line past an election. We need to cut spending now, yesterday.
Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Ken Quintanilla.